Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Working Lunch. This is Peter Roper, the family businessman, and my intention today is to do a short recording for people to have a think about at the start of the week. Let's have something positive. Let's have something upbeat. And why don't we talk today about Chat GPT? Because everybody is talking about Chat GPT, aren't they? The world is talking about it. And all of a sudden, I noticed there was a lot of experts. It's funny, those same people, quite often you'll see are the ones that were expert on something else only 5 minutes ago. So they're obviously leaping on a bandwagon, and I don't blame them for that. Everyone's got to earn some money. But I just thought I would take just a few minutes, literally just a few minutes, to talk about ChatGPT, about family business, and what family businesses need right now. So, if any of you want to let me know about what you think about we're talking about on this first of many working lunches. The whole idea is to get this process going. You'll see in the background that there is a QR code. Take a quick picture of the QR code up for our latest book. That's Leslie Morrissey, my co-author, and I, who wrote a book called The Reputation Gap, which is going very well, thank you, because we believe that reputation is absolutely paramount and essential for business, and particularly for family businesses. So I just want to talk about what ChatGPT has said, and I quote, I've got a bit of paper here, so I was just kind of wave it at you, because I printed it off just to make life simple, about what do family businesses need right now? There you go. What do family businesses need right now? I don't know. What do they need right now? Well, actually, I do, and I will get to that in a minute. But before we do, let's talk about what ChatGPT says. So I typed in, what do family businesses need right now? Well, they came out with a load of stuff that everybody talks about all the time with family businesses. I don't believe it's the number one right now as we do this, but we'll see. And hopefully, I'm going to be joined by a couple of people along the way. I can see that one of them's just joined us. So I'm going to let him in, and that's a gentleman called Nigel Higgs. And hopefully, Nigel can hear me. Can you hear me, Nigel?
I can, yes, thank you.
How cool is that? So, by the miracle of technology, I've got you here. I tell you, as far as technology is concerned, I've been having a lot of fun with this morning. The heating's gone wrong in the office complex. The internet's been going up and down like a yo-yo, and tech here, because of that, is playing up. So, I'll hopefully stay here. We'll see, Nigel, shall we?
I I hope you stay there.
Oh, bless you. So, what I want to do is just talk about some stuff briefly, and then
Okay.
we'll push the button and go off air and talk about it and catch up with each other. But what I was just saying was that I typed into ChatGPT. Now I know you're very excited about ChatGPT, aren't you?
I have mixed feelings about it, but it has possibilities. There are other
Yes.
elements of it that I think could probably be slightly detrimental. So
Yes.
copyright, your own IP can be usurped if you're not careful. So
Yeah.
there's lots of
I
things, lots of questions.
Yeah, I think somebody was saying to me recently about, well, whatever you put up now, ChatGPT will pick up. It's not yours anymore. And you know what? I've had my various stuff ripped off, taken all sorts of
Mm.
places, and my experience is if you don't want to have it ripped off, don't put it out. I think that's the easiest way. By the way, I'm going to bring Maria in as well because Maria's here as well. So I'm just adding Maria in. Hi, Maria. How
Hello,
you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. So
Great.
I was just saying to Nigel, what we're doing is we're live at the minute across Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. So what I'm going to do is just talk with you a little bit about
Mhm.
ChatGPT and just my thoughts on it. Then we'll then say goodbye to everybody who's listening live, and we'll have a quiet chat afterwards about how's life and how we're all doing. And Nigel was just saying he has mixed views about ChatGPT. Maria, I don't know if you have views on it.
I haven't used it that much. I know just that it's very useful for statistics, figures, and
Mm.
but I haven't used it that much at all.
No, I think a lot of people are in that sort of boat, and I've found that some people who've surprised me are using it extensively as part of their business. And when I've listened to why they've said they've used it, I thought, Yeah, I get it. They probably won't come onto a live broadcast because it make it too obvious that it's a part of their business that makes it easier for them. And I don't blame them for that. If you can make your life easier, why wouldn't you do it? I think. I'll just talk through briefly what ChatGPT has said here. I was about to start, and then obviously you both appeared. So what I did was I typed in what do family businesses need right now as of a few days ago. They came up with these things. I'll shout them out briefly, and then I'll shout about the one that I think that we all really need to think about, and that's just my personal opinion, and we can talk about it. ChatGPT came out with a bunch of stuff that people have talked about over and over again about family business. I know, you've heard me talk about these things before in the main. One was succession planning, how to pass a business on to a next generation. Funnily enough, I was discussing that with a family business owner at the end of last week. Professionalization to move their businesses forward, and I think you've heard me say professionalize, not corporatize, and I think that's true for family businesses. Financial management, as if that wasn't close to your mind with your business. Financial management, i.e., how much money's coming in, how much is going out, but it's got to be here. Conflict resolution, and obviously it's had a bunch of people saying, we've had our parents and our siblings beating each other up in the family business. That's a standard one, if you like. Innovation and adaptation. Again, obviously, if you attend any Chamber of Commerce events, for instance, they'll talk a lot about innovation, quite rightly, currently. Access to capital, money, borrowing money, getting older money. Yeah, that's true. Market expansion. Expanding. Well, it doesn't always work for everybody. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked for Wilkinson's recently, has it? Bless them. I remember the first day I went into a Wilkinson store. My mate was working there on a Saturday job, and that was, oh my God, 50 years ago. Believe it or not. And he was working as a Saturday boy at Wilkinson's at Solihull. And he went into retail, and his whole career was retail. But it started by a Saturday job. And it's a real shame. We went into Wilkinson's, Annie and I, at the back end of last week, and it was sad. We bought a few things, and we felt obliged to buy a few things, actually, but also there was some good stuff on bonkers price. But so sad, really. And they've suffered through not innovating and not adapting and expanding, but in an awkward way. And it's like Woolworths all over again, I'm afraid. Technology adoption. Taking talent development, getting the right people, sustainability, and ESG, which for those of you that don't know what it stands for, including me, was environmental, social, and governance practices. So that's the latest phrase of it. Networking, peer support, legal and tax planning, cybersecurity, resilience planning, customer engagement. Would you argue with any of those?
No.
Not particularly, no.
No, you wouldn't, would you? Because every business, let alone a family business, has got to look at all these. It's got to look at all these. And it's got to be part of a bigger plan. I would say that, wouldn't I? Of a reputation plan, hence, if you want to know more about reputation planning, take the QR code, take a picture of it right now, go and either buy the book or go and do our 60-second scorecard to help you think about reputation. All these are covered in it and more. Why wouldn't you? But if I were to ask you right now, Nigel, for instance, what would be the number one consideration for you for your business right now?
On me, I think it's both reputation. You say the number one. I think it's a combination of reputation and communication, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A reputation in what way? Getting people to know who you are?
To a degree, and also what I can do for them.
Yeah.
Making sure it's clear.
Yes.
So who I am and what I can do are very much knit together.
Yeah. Maria, how about you?
Partly the same as Nigel, only in an aspect of tutoring, but mainly financial management and time management. Time management because of three sort of aspects of business that I need to balance all the time. Because I can have ad hoc interpreting, can have 3-4 lessons scheduled at the same time, and can have something else also in the diary for that day, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's totally understandable. It's the same for everybody. None of these things are new, and I'm not being I don't know, what's the phrase? I'm not trying to downplay any of them, because they're the things that are in business all the time for everybody.
Mhm.
Certainly for us, yeah. Time management for me is always fun, always has been, always will be. Getting a message out there that's clear and concise that people really get. If I go back to my earlier days I've run my own business for 28 years now, something like that. Many people still know me as the natural presenter, because for many years I taught people to stand up and speak and present. I still do, and in fact, I'm going to be doing more of that in the coming months and years, because one, I enjoy it, and two, I'm reasonably good at it. But there are other people know me absolutely as the family businessman. So it's two messages for me personally. And it's the same for most service businesses. Yeah, you're either trying to get a message across clearly and concisely. It's easy. Nigel, your example for yourself. Maria, it's balancing getting that information out and getting it out to the right people, but with hopefully that you don't have to have 36 hours in the day. I think personally, the number one thing that most people are thinking about right now is getting more business.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not getting more business, it's getting better business. So some people, I've been talking to the last, few weeks. So, we've been off on holiday during most of August, as we normally do. And I had time to talk to people whilst we were visiting son and family in America. And again, I watched how Americans are doing things currently. And there are lots of things they've always done, and there are some things they're definitely doing differently. But what I can see is that people want better business to have a better life. If that makes any sense. Yes, of course, both of you have heard me bang on about it with the reputation gap recently with the book. But I think it's true. I think the marketplace has changed in that people have realized post-COVID that there is more to life than working flat out 24/7, 365, especially if they're working with or for people who don't really appreciate them. And in which case, they're looking for people who appreciate what they do, are reasonably nice to work with, at least put it that way. You might not have to be best buddies, but, easy to get on with, and who pay you what you're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are turning around now and saying, I would rather have better clients and a better life because of it. And that so long as financially it works, funnily enough, it attracts in a different way. I've talked to a few people last week who are absolutely flying. They're flying along with business. But I asked them, have they got any life? And of course, the answer is they haven't. And they actually want to get this wonderful thing called balance, balance. When you find it, can you let me know? But don't you think, Nigel? Isn't it true?
I do, yeah. I think it's one of those things that a lot of businesses start up, particularly young businesses start up, and they put everything into it, and they get into the habit of putting everything into it and doing lots of hours. And if they're lucky, that they expand both in terms of what their business is doing, the business their business is doing, and they bringing other people into it. But if they get stuck in holding on to everything, they end up doing more and more and more and more. And that's when people start to crack. So growth, the growth becomes a problem because you're trying to hold on to everything. So letting go of that and doing it in a controlled and managed way, so you feel comfortable with it, is really, really important.
Exactly. Otherwise, it feels like you're perpetuum mobile. You like go no.
Yeah.
You lose control.
Yeah, you lose control, and but you lose control of the business. But you lose control of your life, and I think that's more important. Now, okay, I'm at an age where at 67, I'm looking backwards more than forwards because it's just the way it works. But even so, I've had times in my life when I've been flat out busy, just ridiculously flat out busy. I've not actually achieved any more from a personal perspective. And I think that's the key thing, that certainly generations as well. I mean, hopefully some people are watching this right now. Hopefully some younger people are watching this right now, right? I know that the younger generations are saying that, hang on, there's more to life than this.
Yeah.
They're more laid back.
Yeah.
And have a broader view, wider view of everything. I'm just judging by my little one. He's very open. So all opportunities, all possibilities. It's and the position that he chooses. He's not pushed to do anything. He chooses. And yeah. So otherwise, it's a burnout, and then you start making mistakes. And if you're rushing all the time, you're making mistakes, and that then can affect the reputation of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, at the end of the day, the reputation is your reputation. It's the business, it's yours, and therefore that the two go together. And so in that case, surely we've got to demonstrate to ourselves, if you like, why the heck we're doing what we're doing. And I thought, there are times
that's a really good point.
No, well, it is. I mean,
it is a very good point.
I'd be lying if I didn't say there are times when I've looked at it and thought, what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Really, why am I doing this? And it normally takes somebody completely away from you. And, obviously I would advocate, you have personal coaches, etc. I've certainly had several personal coaches over the years, and I currently have a mastermind group that I attend. I have a personal coach that I'm involved with as well. Ask me the daft questions that you should ask yourself, because that's what it's about. I don't call myself a coach. I'm a facilitator and a speaker. That's my specialism, if you like. And you've got to ask you these questions, and amazingly, you tend to ask them when you're away from it. So for us, we're on holiday, and after a few days, your brain starts to relax, and then you start to say, "Really, honestly," and that's perfectly natural. It's perfectly normal. So when you get ChatGPT answering a broad question, which is too broad, and I did it deliberately because I knew what I wanted to do with this, was to demonstrate the fact ChatGPT's got some really good things going for it. Very impressive, some of the things that it's going for. But you better be careful that you don't believe everything that it says.
Yes, exactly. I've been warned before as well. So when writing posts and looking for facts, so they can make up things.
Yeah. And whatever you do, don't go on for figures, because the figures won't be accurate.
It's only as good as its sources. So it goes and gets from sources, and it's only as good as what it can find.
Yes.
And that's the interesting thing. And I think it's been interesting that a number of, for example, a number of businesses like The Guardian have said, no, we're not letting AI come in and scrape our website or what we've put out there. We're not going to allow it to do that. And it's I think you make a good point that if you're not prepared to put stuff out there, then somebody's going to look at it and go, oh yeah, I could do that, or I can use that. And in some ways, I don't mind that. But if you do come up with a piece of intellectual property that is really mind-blowing, then you want to hang on to it. So that's what we need to be careful about, I think.
I think you're right. I agree with you. I think the other challenge, if I might to suggest, is, and don't get me wrong, I have used ChatGPT. I've used it a few times now, and it's been very helpful, because I've had a subject in my head, and I thought, I tell you what, I'll ask, and it'll come out with a bunch of stuff. Whoops, and I'll say, "Oh, thanks," and it just kind of gets your head in gear. It's useful, and you go, "Yeah, those," and then you go off and do your own thing. Which I think, in that respect, it's very useful for. But if you start taking it carte blanche. Two things: one, that's dangerous, and two, it means everybody will use the same thing, so everybody's going to say the same thing, and they become totally bland, which is worse than not using it.
Yeah.
When you don't think, or is that So
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's the
repetition is
same.
always.
Sorry, Maria, you go.
Sorry, repetition is always like a slippery slope, you know, like that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
But if everybody's using the same stuff, then it's like they started using ChatGPT to write essays for college and university.
Yes.
And once you realise that that's happening, you know, it's people are. Well, I think they've found a way around it now, but it becomes very obvious, I think, to some of the tutors reading some of the stuff that's put in. But just the same, if you're using ChatGPT to then create a piece of text that you're going to put out there that's going to try and impress people, I think it's better coming from inside you about who you are, about what you do and how you do it, than trying to create something from ChatGPT.
Can you put in criteria what you wanted to say?
Yeah. Well, you can. I think you can, if it's what you ask and how you ask it, and the range that you take it to. I mean, I don't use it, but
I've seen some demonstrations where people have been very clever, and you can see them thinking, right, here's a question. Now think about it, phrase it differently, or push it, or drip it down, basically. I think someone said recently, Daniel Priestley said recently, because he's he's the founder of Score App, and we use Score App, and Score App's very good, and there is now an AI function on it. But his viewpoint, as he suggested, is a very good one, which is, you know what, use AI like a sous chef to get some basic information, but you're the master chef. Don't forget that. Don't just run with what the sous chefs produced. Now, I don't know how unkind that is on a sous chef, but the message was clear to me. That made it very crystal clear for me, which is use it as a resource. That's great, but don't start looking at it as the be all and end all of your business. Now, Maria, it certainly couldn't be for your own, for what you do, and likewise for you, Nigel. So it's certainly not for us either. But it's useful aid. No two ways about it. If you get into it, it's a useful aid. If you're writing quite a bit, it's useful to put something in or something like that. You get some stuff out. But already, I think you're starting to see some marketing copy, some website copy. And of course, we haven't got anybody on today that's a marketer or a website developer or what have you. They'd all say, no. Okay, it's useful, but you've got to get something properly into it. You can only do that from you. It's not going to come from a machine at the end of the day. So whether ChatGPT does stuff in other areas, obviously might be different. But for what we talk about, I think I just proved the point, really. It didn't come out with the one thing that was patently obvious, which is most family businesses, and family businesses, my definition is one woman or one man, one person band upwards, solopreneur upwards to multinational, etc. Is that everybody, whatever anyone's saying, they're thinking about getting more business, or if it's not more business, it's better more business. With people that appreciate you and appreciate what you do. And in the reputation gap, it's all about working with people who appreciate you. You appreciate them, and they're prepared to pay you what you're what you're truly worth. And to me, that's paramount. And I think ChatGPT can't help with that. Now, it may be, now that we've put this out live, that we'll get something back later on that says, "Oh, I don't agree with it," and it'd be great to hear from somebody if that's the case. I'd love to hear about it, but I'm putting it out there and saying I'd be surprised if that was the case, really.
So are these people then, Peter, inventing a bicycle every time? Like looking for a solution.
I think so. Yes, I mean, you and I, all three of us, each year we'll probably be able to name people who are suddenly experts in something new. Yeah, they're the ones that come out. Oh, look at this now, and come onto my webinar. Come onto this. Come on. And there's nothing wrong with webinars. There's nothing wrong with promoting what you do. We're about to start doing a load of webinars, so I better say that. But there's nothing wrong with that at all. What I'm getting at is if somebody suddenly becomes an expert overnight in the latest super duper fad, and at the moment it's ChatGPT. I saw people who were experts on webinars in lockdown, and who were just clearly not expert. They'd run one and said, "I'm an expert," and I wouldn't dream of doing that. Maria, how long have you been doing what you're doing?
Since 2004. Well, but I had been doing translation, interpreting, and tutoring before that. So for about 26, 27 years.
Yeah, that's worth something. Nigel, how long have you been doing what you're doing?
I worked this out the other day, about 27 years, just in terms of project, program management, and change management.
That's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's scary because I'm running around businesses. What 28? Well, this was 96, so
that's
yeah,
same,
27 years, something like that. Yeah, that's probably 28th birthday in February, won't it? We all hear definition of experts doing at least 5 years in the same thing. Well, all right, in our three cases, hopefully you'd say we do know a few things, if you like. And I do rail against people who suddenly promote that they're experts and they're 2 years old and they've been doing it a week. I hope, if I upset somebody, so be it. I want to work with people who've got a track record.
I think there's an element of, if someone's been doing something for 27 years or longer,
careful.
There can be. Well, I mean, I could go back and do other stuff. I was like, well, I won't go into it. But I was doing project and program management way before that, but in a different guise. But you can say, well, they're very locked into the way they do it. But I think it's very interesting that if you're going to do it in a, certainly in the way I've done it, you're working with lots of different companies. You have to understand how each company works. So if you're working with a different person, it's just as important, not just knowing how to do something, but knowing new ways of doing it and how you then communicate that to the person you're working with or the people, the team you're working with. Because you work with a different team, they have a different culture, they work in a different way. You have to communicate and help them in a different way. So it's always about flexing what you do and understanding why you're doing that and what's most appropriate for both you and the people you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Individual approach to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and for you, Maria, I mean, you've been working on translation for an awful long time. How have you seen life changed since lockdown, as far as that's concerned?
Well, for me, interpreting plainly increased in big numbers because of the amount of people that are coming from the Ukraine now, so there's much more public service interpreting in hospitals and other public organizations and translation. Funnily enough, I had been looking for translation for some time, and then I was offered a contract, so it was very, very good as well, and tutoring also, it didn't affect, standard question is, did it affect people wanting to learn Russian, so it didn't, so because in my sort of pool of students, there are students who are native Russian speakers, so their parents are Russian or they have a Russian descent, so they then sit Russian GCSE and A level, so this doesn't disappear, does it? So then it carries on, and being September now, that there are lots of people enrolling, for the following year's exams.
Yes, and they're all. We have a small storage unit which we've just finished in Worcester with a whole bunch of stuff, as you do, you collect stuff. particularly when you move house or with kids and all the rest of it. And you know, we needed to get, we finished it at the weekend. And this mom and son appeared a few units up, and they've taken all the stuff out. And I thought, I know what they're doing. They've had he's obviously second year uni. They put all the stuff in there. They're taking it all out again, and mum's pushing him on, saying, you know, this is what you need to do. It's quite funny, actually. But this time of year is always like that, isn't it, really? So this show is supposed to run for an hour. It is not going to run for an hour today. The principal reason it's not going to run for an hour is that we've got power issues, which is why you can see that the light on my screen has gone darker, and we're going to lose power shortly whilst they sort things out. So for the live stream part, at least, I'm going to say goodbye in a minute because I don't want us to get cut off midstream, and that would be the wrong thing to do. So for anybody watching at the minute, if they want to know more about the family businesses, thefamilybusinesspractice.com, just go on it. You'll find me kicking around somewhere. Get a hold of us if you want to know more about what the Family Business Practice is doing. These streams are going to go out, at least for now, every fortnight. In the new year, I suspect they're going to go out a lot more. But for now, we're going to do that. Hopefully, we're not going to have quite the tech issues that have decided to descend on us today. Hey, it's our turn. It's fine. It's all right. I think I'd wrap it up by just saying a couple of things. Nigel, Maria, I appreciate you coming on the session today. These sessions are, you know, for all our Family Business Practice members. If they can make it, it's great. If they can't, they can watch this on YouTube afterwards or pick it up on Facebook and LinkedIn at a later date if they wish to. ChatGPT is obviously here. A version of it is here to stay. It is very useful, but treat it as a sous chef. I think that's a very good piece of advice. And don't be scared of it, because you know, I think there's a lot of people scaring people. And funny enough, look, you better be scared about this. Come and learn from us. And now that we're 3-second experts, let's just take our time with it and get to understand it. But I'm going to end the stream for now and just say thanks to Nigel and Maria. We're going to carry on and have a bit of a chat afterwards. But for now, for the live stream, anybody that's watched this, thanks for watching, and look out for when we do the next one. And I'll press that button.